Morning, everyone. I've got a question for you as we approach the start of a new year. And that is, are you looking for God's provision? Many of us are. In fact, all of us, to one degree or another, whether we realize it or not, are looking for God's provision. This is Leah Klein, Health and Homeless Coach, and our verse for today is Psalm 34:10. Which God has given me several different ways in less than a week here. Gave it to me on a retreat and gave it to me and reading a previous journal, and then that was already set on the calendar as being what I was going to be talking about this week. Apparently, this is a message I at least need to get. But that's Psalm 34:10. The young lions suffer want and hunger, but those who seek the Lord lack no good thing. Are you seeking God? Now, that can look like a lot of different things. And obviously, it can be, quiet times, but it can be things like personal retreats and a lot of things in between. It does need to be deliberate. And I will probably try to go into that as we're going through here a little bit, but I will be going into a lot more of this in the Drink from the Well program, and which will be hopefully starting in January. If you're interested in that in any way, feel free to go ahead and set up a call to talk with me about your situation. I can get some tips and suggestions, and if you want to find out more about that, I can give you the details on it. The links in the group feed here multiple times, so it shouldn't be too hard to find. But back to our verse. Our first point is there's no lack. God has a unlimited supply. And when we're seeking Him, He supplies our needs. There's no shortage. If He supplies the needs of one person, it doesn't mean there's any less for another person. He has all the supplies in the universe. And if He doesn't fill us up on worldly treasures, it's probably not for our ultimate good, which is the second part of, because it says lack no good thing. Now, our definition of good and God's definition of good are not the same thing. And you've probably figured that out if you've been a Christian for any length of time at all. He's interested in our ultimate good, that we would grow, that we would become more like Him. And that is not necessarily always accomplished by everything being smooth sailing. In fact, generally not. It is something that requires friction. It requires pressure and pushing against something in order to remove the rough edges and get that cleared up so that we can have that, have the good He wants to give us. And kind of reminds me of removing tile, which is something I've been doing recently. I had to get up some old tile so I could put down new. So I could create something that was new and beautiful, I had to get rid of the old. Now, obviously, this has a lot of applications in a lot of areas of our life. And actually, the context of our passage is food. It's talking about the young lions or any other animal in God's creation looking to God for food. And He's ultimately the one that provides them. And we get this in Matthew 6 as well, and a lot of different places in the Psalms. This is not the only one. And in fact, the verse before this kind of goes into this a little bit too. But the context is actually talking about Him supplying our basic needs, as in food, shelter, clothing. He does provide for our daily needs. And what He created is the best food. So the food is better if it's as close to fresh as possible and not filled with a bunch of toxins uh, from from pesticides and everything else. So organic is better. Whole food is better. Uh, you're not overcooking it. You're not nuking it. You're you're getting it as close. I mean, I'm not a proponent of raw food totally, and not everybody can handle raw food. It requires a certain amount of digestion ability in order to be able to handle raw food. So if you're not there yet, that's just your body needs to recover on your gut before you can get to that point. But the it doesn't mean we have to cook foods to oblivion. It also means sometimes we need to clean some things out of our body so we can put the good stuff in. And this is a good time of year to consider maybe some intermittent fasting. Um, Pick a breakfast or a dinner and skipping that for a few days. Or if you're not feel like you're quite ready to do that, you could also just cut off your meal time by say 6 o'clock in the evening and not eat anything till after 8 in the morning. And that in and of itself will give you like a 14-hour gap. Our body needs those gaps lots of times to do repair work. And that's kind of one of the most basic cleanses you can do, is just not eating for a while and letting your body adjust. It is something you probably need to work towards, especially if you've been having more sugars than normal. You might need to start with making sure you're not eating in the evening, and then work to where you can kind of skip a meal. But you do have to eat well on the meals you do eat. It's not about necessarily eating less. It's just about creating a wider window. So what will you do to impact the way you approach New Year's? Post something in the comments. What's your plan for either your body or for your relationship with God? What are you going to do differently? And I mean not for just the first week or maybe two. What are you going to do and commit to doing for the long haul that is actually going to improve your health and improve your relationship with God? If you need a little help in coming up with some things, feel free to book a call with me and I'll help you find some. But I am looking forward to starting afresh in the new year, and I hope you are too. I will see you next week. Bye-bye.